What's up, guys? Today we will be reviewing round 6 of the NRL season 2024. Let's get into it. First game on the Thursday, the Roosters were travelling down to Newcastle, missing 3 of their key players, Tedesco, Walker, and Dominic Young. The Knights would skip out to an 8-0 lead, and then the Roosters would score 3 tries before half-time, with a Brandon Best try for the Knights, making it 16-14 at half-time. The second half, both sides would have their chances. Daniel Tupou would score to give the Roosters a 22-14 lead. Adam Elliott would score to set up a grandstand finish. The Roosters would hang on for a gutsy win on the road without Tedesco, Walker, or Young. Yeah, the Roosters were pretty good in this game. Overall, they outclassed the Knights. Joseph Manu being the key with I think 2 tackle breaks, a try assist, and 347 run meters. So moving on to the next game, so the Bulldogs travel down to Melbourne to take on the Storm. The Storm would capitalise on an early Bulldogs error to lead 6-0 very early on. Raymond Smith would score off of a brilliant Xavier Coates kick to give the Storm a 10-0 lead, and that would be the lead at halftime. The Storm, they weren't at their best in the first half, but it looked like they were going to go on and get a pretty easy win. But the Dogs really challenged them, a Josh Adokar hat-trick in the second half, giving the Bulldogs a 14-10 lead, and their fans a bit of hope for once. Sean Bloor would end that hope and win the Storm the game. Despite the Bulldogs coming off a pretty disappointing game against the Roosters, the Dogs are very good in this game, very spirited. Next up, we have the third edition of the Battle of Brisbane. The Broncos are coming off the Broncos have a lot of missed opportunities early on, but Jared Wallace will be the one to open the scoring. Xavier Willison will get back, and the Broncos will be up 6-4 at half-time. But 4 tries in the opening 18 minutes would see the Broncos up 28-4. Despite 2 late tries from the Dolphins, the Broncos would win 28-14 in the third edition of Battle of Brisbane. The first game on the Saturday sees Manly travelling down to New Zealand. Manly would skip out to a 16-0 lead with a double to their skipper Daly Cherry Evans. Tom Tiller would also score to give them a 16-0 lead. The Warriors would score 2 late tries for Jas Tabunga and Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. And the Manly's lead at 16-10 at half-time. Ben Travoy would score the first try of the second half, and it looks like Manly would go on with the job. But Sean Johnson would score a try for the Warriors in a great battle between the halfbacks, but he'd miss the kick, so Manly would lead 22-14. But Dallin Watene-Zelezniak would score with about a minute and a half left. It'd be 22-20. Sean Johnson would have a shot for a 2-point field goal, but would be hit late, and would have a penalty goal from right in front. It's tied at 22-all. Both halfbacks had some shots at field goal, but none of them were successful, leading in the first draw for this season and the first draw since round 5 last year when Manly drew against the Knights in Mudgee, denying the Warriors a 4th straight win and denying Manly another brilliant win against another top 4 team from last year. The second game saw the Cowboys travelling down to Combank Stadium to take on the Parramatta Eels. The Cowboys were posed as pretty heavy favourites after the Eels' disappointing performances, and the Cowboys being in a bit of form to start this year. Jeremiah Nono would open the scoring for the game after a disallowed Kyle Felt try early on. But Joe Offahingawi would hit back, and a penalty goal would put the Parramatta Eels in front. Thomas Chester would score a try, and the Cowboys would be back in front. Joey Lussick would give the Eels a 14-10 lead going into the break. Morgan Harper would score out of the break, and the Eels would be up 20-10. Valentine Holmes would score for the Cowboys to bring it to 20-14. But Dejan Arce would score a try, what could have been the nail in the coffin. But Scott Drinkwater would score a brilliant try in his 100th game to make it 26-20. But Dejan Arce would end the Cowboys' hopes, and the Eagles would win 27-20 in a high-quality game of rugby league. The next game would see the Sharks travelling down to Accor to take on a young Rabbitohs team. The first try of the match would come through Ronaldo Mulatalo off the bomb, up against Jai Gray on debut. Michael Cheekham would score, and the Rabbitohs would hit back. Teague Wilton and Mulatalo would score for the Sharks to give them a 16-6 lead at halftime, and Katoa would score out of the break to give them a 22-6 lead at halftime. Tiny Milne would score to make it 22-12. Teague Wilton would score to make it 28-12. Then Tom Burgess and Isaiah Tass would score, and the Rabbitohs would set up a grandstand finish. But Blake Brayley would end the Rabbitohs' hopes, and the Sharks would win 34-22. So, the Sharks, the Rabbitohs have been struggling. The youngsters did a pretty good job. But the Sharks, they weren't at their best, but they were good enough to win against a young Rabbitohs team. So, moving on to the next game. So the Dragons go up against the Tigers at Campbelltown. Tigers lost their last 8 at Campbelltown coming into this game. The Dragons would open the scoring in the first minute for Zach Lomax for a beautiful ball from Happy Carousel would give the Tigers a 6-4 lead. But Jack Bird and Kyle Flanagan would score before the break to give the Dragons a 16-6 lead. Then Jaden Sewer would score after a penalty goal to give the Dragons a 24-6 lead. Astor Capella would score for the Tigers, but ultimately the Dragons were better against the flat Tigers team, who really did not look like they wanted to be there at times, unfortunately. The Dragons would hold on for a pretty good win and stage the claim that they're not that bad. The Titans would travel down to Canberra to take on the Canberra Raiders. James Schiller would open the scoring, and then Hudson Young would add another one for the Raiders to be up 12-0. A Jamin Jolliffe try before halftime would see the lead for the Raiders be 12-6. Harley Smith-Shields would score out of the break, and it would be 12-10. There'd be a penalty goal here for the Raiders, I believe. And then James Schiller would score to give the Raiders a 20-10 lead. But 2 miraculous tries from Malafiana Khan Pereira would see 20-all, including Brian Kelly's first successful conversion in his NRL career, tied up at 20-all and sent it into Golden Point. And in Golden Point, near the halves would really have a chance at field goal. But a break from Ethan Strange would, after a 7-tackle set, would get the Raiders in position for Jamal Fogarty to shut the gate on his old team and give the Raiders a good win in Golden Point. So the Panthers had the bye. Now let's have a bit of a look at the ladder. The Sharks, the Storm, the Raiders, and the Cowboys are in the top 4. The Dolphins, the Panthers, the Warriors, and the Seagulls round up the 8. The Roosters, the Broncos, the Eels, the Tigers, and the Dragons are in the fringes. And the bottom four is the Knights, the Bulldogs, Titans, and the Rabbitohs. Very interesting round. One of the craziest rounds with 2 golden point games, almost 2 draws. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.